Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is warning schools to stop imposing fees which may force children to stay away from classes. His warning came Wednesday during an awards ceremony at the office of the Prime Minister. TVJ's O'Shane Masters reports.
With the new school term just weeks away, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is cautioning primary school administrators against charging unnecessary fees. Mr. Holness, who is also the Education Minister, was speaking at an awards ceremony for PEP students at the office of the Prime Minister yesterday.
What is emerging now is that primary schools are beginning to charge fees. They are not calling them tuition fees. But whether it is ancillary or auxiliary or registration, whatever fee it is, I'm putting the primary schools on notice that there are many parents, and I'm not now speaking as Prime Minister, I'm speaking now as a Member of Parliament. I'm seeing an increased number of requests for assistance to pay for registration packages. And there is a sense that the more expensive the school is, the more exclusive it is.
Mr. Holness noted that while schools are trying to make improvements, it shouldn't be at the expense of excluding students who can't afford the fees.
I'm not saying that the parents must not contribute, but sometimes we miss the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to make sure that no child, regardless of the income status of their household, is in any way deprived of education. Now remember, at the primary level, the criteria for enrollment should never be that the parent can afford it. The criteria for enrollment is your proximity to the school. The introduction of these kinds of fees is going to change that.
As for high schools charging tuition fees,
I have said to my constituents, I'm not paying any high school fees. Because the government, since we introduced this policy, has always supported the schools. And indeed, the statistics, the figures will show that since the introduction of the no tuition policy, government support to secondary schools has increased dramatically.
Mr. Holness says for last year, some $34.1 billion was spent on secondary education by the government. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The Education Ministry is reiterating that high schools in need of math and science teachers should pull from a pool of 176 students who graduated from the Jamaica University College and Church Teachers College. Permanent Secretary in the Education Ministry, Dr. Grace McLean, gave an update at a press conference on Wednesday.
That the 176 teachers that are now available will be employed because the demand shows that we need them. We have some other strategies. One strategy will include us actually looking at using some of our fourth-year teachers who will be on teaching practice. So we will place them in selected schools based on their location and provide the guidance that is necessary, which is not very difficult based on the training that would have been done as it relates to our curriculum.
Dr. McLean outlined the second strategy to address the shortage.
Come the first week in September, we are going to be rolling out our Flip Classroom initiative. What this initiative will assist us in doing is to utilize our master teachers who will work from a central location where the technology exists, and other schools that do have that technology will be able to benefit from the lessons that are currently being taught at that particular time.
The Education Ministry says of the 25,000 teachers in the public sector, 750 leave each year through retirement or resignation. About 250 would resign in the last week of August or the first 2 weeks of September. Some of those persons take up jobs in the United States, Japan, or the United Kingdom.
recruiters in the UK as well as the US, and they have assured us that once they have finalized their strategy for those that they will be offering positions, they will advise us ahead of time. So we expect that by the third week, going into the fourth week of August, we will have that information. Now, we can't act on that information because we can't say all the teachers are going to accept the offer, but we will at least have a fair idea as to those who are going so we can start putting the plans in place.
There are renewed calls for stakeholders to quickly resolve issues facing contract workers. Trade unionists have been pressuring the government to review labor laws as contract workers are being exploited. Speaking at a delegates meeting in Westmoreland Tuesday night, former People's National Party Vice President Dr. Fenton Ferguson says the issues not only affect workers in the public sector.
And the tourism sector is one of those sectors that have abused workers. But let me make it clear that government is also a major abuser with the contract work. In health and in other areas of governance, portering, cleaning, the security guards, bell-ups, you work for 10 years or more, and every year you have to take 2 weeks and on a vacation, contract break. You don't get no insurance. You don't get nothing.
And it's time for a break. More stories when we return. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is insisting there's an effective system to deal with sexual harassment in the health sector. A newspaper report has highlighted that junior doctors face pressure from their seniors and would be victimized if they speak out. Dr. Tufton says the Health Ministry's Human Resources Manual addresses how such cases should be dealt with.
So there is a process. The issue becomes, of course, the willingness of the aggrieved party to bring the issue to the fore. In the last year, I did some checks. We've had no such issues being raised in 2 of the 4 regions, regional authorities. In one region, 1 issue has been raised, and in another, we have had 2 issues. And in that case, a hearing, and someone was terminated based on that hearing. So the system works based on those limited cases, at least over the last year, once persons are willing to advance their case.
Dr. Tufton says health workers may need to know more about the provisions in the manual.
What we will have to do are a combination of things. First of all, we need to determine what are the particular concerns that they may have as it relates to any retaliatory action that can be taken. The way the system works now is that you can lodge a complaint at the level of HR within the institution. Beyond that, that complaint can be ratcheted up to as far as the regional health authority, and if necessary to the ministry. And remember also that one could also take their complaint to the courts of the land at the highest level.
The National Works Agency, NWA, has announced plans to build a new bridge on Ligoni Avenue in St. Andrew, costing $26.5 million. Work is scheduled to begin in September. While there's a contract to begin the work, the NWA says other service providers have to remove their cables before the process begins. The existing structure will be demolished. It had barriers to prevent motorists and pedestrians from falling over, but those barriers were not replaced after they were destroyed. TVJ News spoke with one resident who had concerns.
We need urgent fixing, and if something drop over it or drop into it as a result of an accident, there's nothing going to do about it. So if there's something about to be done about it, I think it is in the best interest of people and their life.
NAA Communications Manager Stephen Shaw says the roadway will be upgraded from single to dual lanes. Residents in Old Harbour St. Catherine are frustrated over the poor quality of work by representatives of the National Water Commission (NWC). One resident from New Harbour Village said she woke up to a foul smell from a manhole as well as sewage in front of her gate.
Yes, man. TVJ me call now. Me sick of this, man. Me no live a back a wall. And them come here yesterday and I don't know what them do. Come here yesterday and dig off the thing. Dig it up and left it and then they put it on back properly. Then catch up with it now. See it now, it's worse than ever now. See it? Worse than ever.
Residents are now calling for further intervention to effectively fix the problem. And in sports, the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, J3As, is expected to name Jamaica's team to the IAAF World Championships in the coming days. However, as Denise Walters reports, there are lingering questions as to a third athlete who will represent the nation in the men's 400 meters in Doha.
Only national champion Dimish Gay and national record holder Roisin McDonald have met the World Championship qualifying standard of 45.30 in the men's 400 meters to date. Gay won the national championships with a season's best 44.83 seconds, while McDonald, who finished fourth, had already met the standard from the semi-final running 45.25. Terry Thomas, who finished second in a personal best 45.47, and Javan Francis, who was third in a season's best 45.60, still have until September 6 to do so. However, the J3A's selection criteria as it stands says athletes must compete at the national championships, barring medical exemption, which is granted to athletes ranked or listed in the top 3 of their event globally. But the exempted athlete must prove their world ranking form prior to the final submission of the team. The flat 400 aside, 2 athletes who may gain selection to the men's mile relay pool are Akeem Bloomfield and Nathan Allen. Bloomfield, who ran the 200 meters at the trials, won the London Diamond League in 44.40 seconds, and Allen, who did not compete at the trials because of injury, finished third in 44.85 seconds. For TVJ Sports analyst Dwayne Extol, both need to be on that team.
Akeem Bloomfield and Nathan Allen. Nathan recovering from injury, running well. Bloomfield running well as well. I think they should include those 2. It may be up for debate, and it doesn't matter to me who wants to debate it. I think we send our strongest team regardless of what happened at the national championships.
Another TVJ Sports analyst, Hubert Lawrence, is hoping Bloomfield gets an automatic qualification in the flat 400 through the Diamond League.
You've got to carry a team, and let's see, the Diamond League goes to Birmingham on the weekend, and Akeem Bloomfield has won the London leg. Let's suppose he wins the Birmingham leg, qualifies for the Diamond League final and wins it, then he gets a straight line to Doha and to the team.
However, he has question marks about Allen's fitness and sees another athlete in the relay pool.
I think he got hurt before the trial, and so it's very difficult for him to get into the team this year unless he too wins the Diamond League final. So difficult. But in that team somewhere is Javan Francis, and even though his individual form is not compelling, he's a relay genius.
The IAAF World Championships will take place from September 27 to October 6. Denise Walters for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.